Listen to this. A reported terror plot targeting the president's daughter has just shaken Washington. And the details, if these reports are accurate, are far more serious than a normal political headline. And according to reporting, an Iraqi national was accused of targeting the president's family. The claim centers on an alleged plot, a reported home blueprint, and a chilling revenge motive. Now pause right there, because that is not just political noise. That is a national security question. Federal officials say international partners helped intercept the suspect before further damage could happen.
The administration's legal team described this as an ongoing investigation with more steps expected.
That matters, because a complaint is not the same as a final conviction or a completed case. But even at this stage, the allegations are disturbing enough that every American should pay attention. Reports say the suspect had links to foreign militant networks and had praised hostile forces online. The alleged motive traces back to a military strike ordered years ago against a senior foreign commander. That is the part people miss. These threats do not always disappear when the headlines move on. According to the report, the suspect allegedly spoke about surveillance and revenge over time. And when someone allegedly posts threats while moving across borders, the security picture changes fast. This is why border security, intelligence sharing, and law enforcement coordination are not abstract debates. Officials described cooperation between federal law enforcement and overseas partners as central to the arrest. The key question now is whether this was one isolated suspect or part of something broader. And that question should be asked carefully, not with panic, but with total seriousness. Because when a president's family becomes a reported target, the entire country has a stake in the answer. So now let's walk through the timeline, the alleged threats, and what federal officials are saying. First, the reported arrest. The suspect was recently brought into the United States to face federal proceedings. The officials were careful not to reveal operational details, and that caution actually makes sense here. They said the effort involved federal agents, intelligence coordination, and partners outside the country. That is the kind of case where one loose detail can put people, sources, and future arrests at risk. Second, the alleged target. Reports say the president's daughter was named in the threat. The reporting also says there was a home-related map or blueprint tied to the alleged plan. And that detail is exactly why this story jumped from politics into personal security territory. We are not showing private addresses or anything that could help copycats. That line matters. Third, the motive. Reports connect the alleged threat to retaliation for a past military strike. That older strike removed a senior foreign military figure, and some extremist networks never forgot it. This is the reality of power. Decisions made in Washington can echo for years across the world. According to the complaint described in reports, the suspect was tied to multiple alleged attacks. Those allegations include attacks or attempted attacks involving Jewish and American-linked targets abroad. Again, these are allegations at this stage, but the pattern described by officials is deeply alarming. This is where smart viewers need to separate two things: political opinion and court-tested fact. The court process will test the government's evidence. The security concern exists right now. And that is why dismissing this as just another political headline would be dangerously naive. Major outlets may argue over the politics, but the core issue is basic protection from foreign threats. Some critics will focus on the administration. Supporters will focus on the successful interception. But the real question is bigger than the spin. How did a figure like this move so visibly? Reports describe the suspect as unusually public, posting travel images and militant praise online. That visibility raises a hard question for every security agency watching foreign-linked networks. If the reporting is accurate, this was not a quiet figure hiding completely in the shadows. He was not a quiet figure. If the reporting is accurate, the alleged posts included threats, militant imagery, and references to revenge against American interests. And when that kind of messaging appears online, it should trigger questions before tragedy happens. America cannot afford to treat open threats like background noise. That mistake can cost lives. The reporting also points to travel documents that may have helped the suspect move across borders. And that brings us to the policy question. Who gets screened, how deeply, and by whom? Because this is not only about one alleged case. It is about the gaps people fear may exist. The political fight will come fast. One side will blame lax policy, the other will warn against overreach. Major media outlets will likely frame this through immigration, foreign policy, and presidential security. But viewers deserve more than slogans. They deserve the timeline, the evidence, and the unanswered questions. The timeline begins with older foreign conflict, moves through online threats, then reaches federal arrest. That timeline matters because it suggests this alleged threat did not appear out of nowhere overnight. Watch that pattern closely. Long grudges, online warnings, travel movement, and then law enforcement steps in. This is why deterrence matters. Enemies of America need to believe threats will be found and stopped. Federal officials also suggested the investigation may continue toward additional accountability. That does not mean viewers should assume every detail is settled. It means the next filings matter. The standard should be simple. Protect due process, but never minimize credible threats against Americans. Now let's talk about the political implication, because this is where Washington will split immediately. Now, supporters of the administration will say this proves aggressive security work is absolutely necessary. Critics may argue the story will be used politically, especially around immigration and foreign policy. Both reactions can happen at once, but neither reaction should erase the alleged threat itself. This is the trap in Washington. Everything becomes partisan before the public gets basic clarity. The first responsibility of government is not spin. It is protecting citizens and lawful residents. That includes political families, Jewish communities, diplomatic sites, and ordinary Americans in public places. Reports describe alleged threats across several countries, which makes this more than a local police story. If hostile networks can move money, people, and threats across borders, America has to adapt faster. The next phase will likely involve indictments, court filings, and deeper questions about accomplices. Officials have already signaled that anyone involved could face consequences if the evidence supports it. That phrase matters, if the evidence supports it. A serious country does not skip the process. But a serious country also does not shrug when its enemies allegedly plan attacks on its soil. Watch how the media class handles this. Do they focus on the threat or only the politics? Some headlines may downplay the national security angle, while others will amplify it immediately. That difference tells you a lot about what institutions think the public should care about. And here is the uncomfortable truth. Many Americans no longer trust the filter. They want the documents. That is why the court record, official statements, and verified reporting will matter more than slogans. My view is simple. Take threats seriously, demand proof, and stop treating security as a partisan toy. You can support strong action and still insist the government prove its case in court. That balance is not weakness. It is how a constitutional republic handles real danger. So I want to ask you directly, do you trust Washington to handle threats like this without spin? Should this case lead to tougher screening, stronger intelligence work, or a bigger public explanation? Because the public deserves safety, but it also deserves honesty about what officials know and do not know. Drop your take below. Was this handled well, or are there still major questions unanswered? Subscribe to Uncle Sam Briefing, because this story is not slowing down, and the next filing could matter. Stay alert, stay informed, and may God bless the United States of America and all who defend her.